Ladies and gentlemen, if I start to speak with values and about values, you might be astonished. But this European Union is founded on values: peace, security, tolerance, solidarity, prosperity, growth. And those are also the values which should be as the basis of what we are doing today, of our policies. And those are also the values we need to engage people around and communicate through our actions. When you survey the European citizens, it's quite telling that most of the people are in favor of the European Union, or at least they feel very much attracted by the tangible effects, by the tangible benefits that our policies have delivered. Let me just give you some examples. Putting forward proposals on financial safety net, well, is building solidarity. Pushing further market liberalization, well, it is encouraging enterprise and bringing in the spirit of economic dynamism. Lowering roaming charges, and by the way, today is a new day for lowering the roaming charges. We defend consumers and we promote the free movement of people. Uniting in protesting at human rights abuses, we line up with the reputation of the European Union as a beacon for justice and freedom. And when enlarging the European Union, we are not only securing stability and extending economies, we are most of all securing freedom and stability. So, doing all this and speaking all this has nothing to do with spin and has nothing to do with the advertisement business. Because what we are doing, we are fighting for support and trust for our policies, like all governments do, and here the European Commission is no exception to the rules. But we do have sometimes a problem with the national governments, because they do have a tendency, a week through, to say that everything which doesn't work at home is a problem of Brussels, even if it is their problem, but doesn't matter, and everything which works at home is theirs. So very difficult if you have the bunch of prime ministers, of ministers of foreign affairs and whatsoever, saying 6 days a week that everything what doesn't work comes from Brussels, and then the seventh day of the week they say, oh, but we have to be fighting for building Europe. I think that in the end this blame game makes the reputation of the politicians to be damaged, and it damages, of course, the reputation of Europe, so it doesn't serve anybody. But I believe also that Europe cannot be communicated in the blue. You can only communicate a good policy, and communication is as good as the policy is. As I always say, you need first a story in order to be capable to communicate. So, good policies are at the basis of what we have to communicate. We have to tackle climate change, fix the financial system, push for economic reform, promote student mobility, manage immigration policies, improve job opportunities for young people, and all those policies will only deliver result if people support them. And people can only support them if people know about them. And there is where our communication comes in. To be credible and convincing, our communication has to focus on sound substance. Communication, however good it is, cannot fix a bad policy, and an official cannot go out and explain his sister or his mother what he is doing if what he is doing is nothing. So the first thing to do as a politician is to deliver sound policies. And I firmly believe in all those ideals on which our union is based. But I'm also a realist and a pragmatist. And I know that it's very difficult to communicate ideals if you do not do that with very tangible examples. And I may be stating the obvious, but communicating should also be an integral part of the whole policy development. Communicating doesn't come in the end when you finished everything. It has to be integrated from the moment on. You think a new policy, you start to develop it, and then you present it to an audience, and then you get it enforced. So good communication is a means, a tool, which helps you develop the integration of the society into policy making and the explanation of the results of this policy to your voters. So good communication is about telling a good story as part of the policy process. And a good story always has to relate to people, always has to relate to emotions. It is about real issues for real people. For instance, it's rather easy to communicate about the research efforts which are done in order to tackle cancer or Alzheimer's disease. It is rather easy to communicate about cutting down harmful pollutants from petrol or pesticides. It is easy to communicate the steps we are taking to protect citizens' rights when they purchase services or goods through the internet. A good story has always to be very concrete and rely to the citizens. It has to be relevant for him and understandable.